Matty, what's happening?
How's it going, man?
Are you going back into the synagogue? That's where you're going, right?
What did you say?
You're going back into the synagogue.
The synagogue?
That underground California lair that you've got.
Nothing underground about it, my friend. I'm completely above ground, and it's a good place at the moment.
Nice. Where are you?
Long Beach, California.
At your family's place?
Yeah, it's my grandfather's house.
Yeah, that's amazing. No, last time usually we have this in your midnight. So you're sitting in the lair drinking whiskey, stroking old books like some sort of a philanthropist god.
9 a.m. here at the moment, so I got my coffee.
I don't know if it's you or me, but there's a little bit of a stream issue right now. Anyway, GM to you all, welcome to the show. If you can hear me clap once, let us know how we do.
Sorry about that. I walked out of the Wi-Fi zone, and now I'm going into my apartment, which is in the backyard here. There's like a little gate.
Is there like are you staying in the the villa, the kind of the cottage?
Yeah.
Is it some sort of this is like an estate?
It's just an apartment complex now. That was here, and they were buying it piece by piece.
Yeah, that's cool. And you got like you're there with family. Like that's so lacquer to go to California for once a week. For us, like now my family's in Johannesburg, and like we were thinking of going, and it's just like winter and like wretched weather over there. California this time of year, it must be gorgeous.
You know what? Today is actually freaking overcast, and I actually felt a few drops of rain, which is extremely rare for this time of year.
Yeah,
but
it's global warming.
It is what it is. I sent the kids to summer camp this morning. They were very excited.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's been a dream of my wife to send the kids to like a North American summer camp, because those are different leagues to where we grew up in. We went to camp in tents, like we slept in proper tents.
It's funny. No tents. No tents. They have a bus that picks them up in the morning and drops them off 4:30 p.m.
Oh, so it's a day camp.
Yeah, day camp, exactly. It's only 2 of the kids. I got 2 more in the apartment.
Well, we are waiting for our gentleman from Portal. Let's hope they wake up. Lots of people came for Portal. Portal. Matty, do you know anything about Portal? Is it something first time you're hearing about?
Never heard of it.
How familiar
I have no idea what Portal is, but I know that they've got a strong bot army.
Yeah, they've got a Yap army. It's not a bot army.
Yap, is that what Yap is about?
Yeah. So they have a leaderboard right now. They have a TGE coming up, and they've allocated 0.5% of the supply of Portal PTB token to Yappers. So that's why I think it's been filled. You've seen a lot of mention of them on the timeline. So it's not bots, it's smart bot. It's like, how do we activate more high signal accounts to shill us on the timeline? That's sort of like what the yapping is. But they have a really good technology. Can
you give the bots like money, or you have to give them unlaunched tokens?
You can give them money. There's a lot of post TGE projects that are doing campaigns on Kaito, like Arbitrum or like Polkadot, and they just give stable each month to the top 100 or whatever on their leaderboard. So it's not necessarily like giving just tokens, but the real opportunities in these TGEs, because usually they go for a much wider distribution, right? And it's also like we love the thrill of the chase. Like everyone loves to do some moon math, And speaking about moon math, Chandra and George in the house as well. And we have Hound. Who's Hound? Hound is on the.
Hey guys, nice to meet
Hey
you.
Chandra, how are you?
Good morning.
Chandra.
All right, you guys hear me?
Welcome, George.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you guys.
Good for you to be here. Mati is on vacation mode. He's in easy mode right now. He's taking it easy on the Long Beach coast right of California, and he left me back home. Pardon? Cheers to that.
Cheers.
And he left me back at home to hold the fort. But we're glad to talk with you guys, especially in this time zone. This is usually Bath and bedtime time zone. But I told my wife I have special guests, so I got out of jail free card on that one. And instead of that, I get to talk coin, which is one of my favorite things to do in the world. And we'll take it over to our Mati. I don't know if you're available to show us charts at the moment, but Mati, for a little opening monologue on what's happening right now.
While you're doing that, there's something with your audio where the microphone source, I think, is your laptop rather than your AirPods.
Let's see this. Okay, let me try something new.
When you lean in, it gets louder, so that's the source of your microphone.
No.
Yeah.
Still the same problem.
Yeah.
Still the same problem.
No, it's actually louder. That's
okay. So I think.
Yeah, that's an impressive trick there, George. Able to identify somebody's microphone source from halfway across the world.
When it comes to streams, the most important thing is not video quality, but audio. That's where the professionalism is.
Amen to that.
I have one of these things, right? But I'm not even using it right now because it's too complicated to get set up.
Yeah, I had a few issues today. Can you guys hear me?
The audio source keeps changing. We can hear you, but it's a bit muffled.
It's a bit muffled. It's interesting. I don't know why it's muffled, but I had an issue today. I usually have like a pair of headphones and they just cracked and broke like an hour ago at the gym. So we'll get on the audio, but I'll speak as little as possible. That's the best way to conduct this stream until I get myself some new gear, and I'll just ask as many questions and get you guys to share. But first, we'll get to Mati for the monologue. But Chandra, I've got a question. You and Manoj, are you guys brothers?
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. I also work with my brother, and it's quite a wild ride. I just put 2 and 2 together a few minutes ago.
Oh, okay.
Who's the oldest one?
Me.
Yep. Yeah, makes sense. Are you the oldest, like the firstborn?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, that's makes sense. But you're also a doctor. In my case, we have 2 siblings in crypto sphere, and then we have 2 siblings that are doctors. But they're like, DJing on the side as well. While Mati gets his audio back, maybe I want to hear a little.
Did Chandra actually give you his background as being a doctor?
I'll get into that straight away. I'm super curious.
I thought you knew that.
I'm super curious about like your journey from medicine to crypto, because like my brother is a full-time doctor and he does it like he DJs like a few hours a day, and there's no ways he could like he doesn't. There's not enough time in the day for him to really master the field, like if you were full-time crypto. So I'm very, very curious. And George as well too. You're a special surprise. I thought we were getting Manoj on, but George, I welcome your presence. Thank you very much.
Yeah, the other brother.
Yeah. So
you can see the resemblance.
I want to start with that story, maybe like maybe a little personal intro to you, Chandra, and then we'll move on to hopefully Mati will come in with his market update, and then I want to get a few words from George as well.
Chandra, I think he wants to install blockchains in people's brains.
So
I'm into that.
I'm happy to give a little bit of a background about myself. I did train as a doctor. I do have a license to practice. But as soon as I finished my training, I was actually in an MD PhD program in bioinformatics and biophysics. Was going down the academic path, and then decided to that it isn't for me, and I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I moved to Silicon Valley and started a medical. I didn't directly jump into crypto. I mean, I actually started a med tech company and then a personalized nutritionist, an AI nutritionist company, the first personalized AI nutritionist company in the world, called Fuel. That's actually how I met George. And then after that exit, we actually decided to take some time off and look at what's going on, and think about what to do next. And then we um, decided to. So George said, "Hey, you need to look at Ethereum. I have mined Bitcoin way back in 2011. Didn't pay much attention to it because I didn't think, it was an interesting thing from various philosophical perspectives, technically, etc. But didn't ever think that it would have anything to do with business for me or career or anything like that." So when the Ethereum ICO craze started, George said, "Hey, there are all these new blockchains popping up, and so let's spend some time learning them and maybe throw some money at some of these projects, at least get to meet the teams, etc." And then I personally spent 2017, 2016 relearning the entire Bitcoin stack, and a few others that I looked at sounded like they didn't serve any purpose. So towards the end of 2018, we came to the conclusion that the biggest problem in this space is custody risk, particularly during cross-chain operations or transactions. Um, if you think about what plagued crypto right from the beginning was from Mt. Gox, FTX, Bybit, everything, all the bridge collapses. They're all basically different derivations of the same thing, which is custodial risk when someone wants to do trading or operate across different blockchains. And so said, there's a real problem that's never been solved. It's a continuing and ongoing problem. So why don't we do a lot of research and development and see what we can come up with to solve this problem efficiently. And so, yeah, I didn't directly jump from medicine into
Yeah.
crypto. No, that wasn't it. I spent a decade in Silicon Valley before that.
I think med tech is a natural, obviously a natural middle point between, from the surgeon's table to the trenches. But I want to hear George's side of it, because it seems like George is the guy who orange pulled you, or maybe you orange pulled each other.
Well, Chandra actually had a big background in Austrian economics. Libertarian values were something he kind of instilled in me at that moment. I never knew that I really was that much of a libertarian. I was just always an entrepreneur who wanted to build things for myself. And then he kind of got me into learning a little more about the economics of it, even though I already was a Bitcoiner, which is very fascinating, right? I had already learned about the Federal Reserve being probably the biggest source of our problems as a society, which because the money is being drained from everyone slowly. So when I spoke to Chandra and Manoj about these opportunities that were coming up, because in 2017 this new ICO craze had rebounded, or maybe just showed up, we just kind of got started on wanting to come up with some form of technology that would utilize blockchain and tokens in the proper way. All of those token projects, most of them, they died. Why? Because they didn't have a real use case. They were solving a problem that wasn't really a problem, or didn't need a blockchain to be fixed. And one of the reasons for that is because, well, a blockchain cannot really solve problems in the real world. It can solve ownership problems, but it can't there's an issue with bad data that gets caught in the beginning of the blockchain that then gets perpetuated, right? So we knew that there needed to be a reason for these types of blockchains to exist. That reason is so paramount to what Portal is building, right? The biggest thing is blockchains being able to communicate with one another, and they're doing so right now in a very poor manner. I'm not sure that the communication is what needs to be solved, but definitely the assets that are being traded cross-chain needed to be done in a safe manner. And so that's something we've been working on for over 5 years now.
Yeah, I mean, I want to get you on the Austrian economics because, like, no one's read this cover to cover, but I wrote the book on it's the commentary on the Bitcoin white paper. Essentially, like my background, the Jewish background, like I studied a little bit of the Jewish text and the way that the commentaries are given, and it's relevant to other religions as well. It's sort of contextual, commentary where you have the canon or the Bible, and then you have running commentary on that word or on that sentence. So I did that for the white paper. It was like 104 pages long, like expand the 9 pages into 104 pages. And that was like what drove me, that perfectionist of that Austrian economic libertarian values. And I feel the same way. Like I never put a name to it growing up, but I always knew that was, when I heard about it, when I read the white paper, when I understood, not just like, this isn't your grandpa's libertarianism. This isn't like Ron Paul screaming by himself in a megaphone. This is like embedded into the very fabric of the internet and very much adopted by society. So big up for bringing that, Mises touch to the blockchain. I see you nodding your head. I'm curious what you have to say.
God put many prophets here on earth, right? And I don't believe Muhammad was the last prophet. Why? We got Satoshi. Actually, I think Satoshi is from the future.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of these things. Like for me personally, like one thing I looked at is, the Genesis blocks was started to get mined on Jan 3, right, 2009, which was a Saturday night. If you go by like a new like EST time zone, and it ended like he found the nonce on Jan 9th, 2009. Just before, it's Saturday night to Friday. So how did the Jewish week work? We start working on Saturday night, and Friday sundown we log off for the Shabbat. And Satoshi's block was right on top of that. So you can slice and dice it however you want, but I think that's a cool fact.
Interesting. Yeah. I hadn't heard that one.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Chandra, what about what your, like? How did you come to Austrian economics and this whole line of thinking?
I mean, I was always curious about how the markets work, and it's a very, very noisy world out there in terms of, especially in macro. Austrian economics, I fell into, I think, mostly because of Ron Paul's, speeches and campaigns, and he used to reference that. And once you take the Austrian pill, then you realize that all of the other economic texts that you wasted your time on is kind of just hot garbage, especially in macro, particularly in macro. It's rational, it's incontrovertible, and it works. So.
Yeah, I mean, I studied Econ 101 in university, and I did like actuarial economics and a lot of different courses, but at no point did we, if I hadn't gotten into Bitcoin, I would have heard of John Maynard Keynes, and I would have heard of Paul Krugman, and I would have heard of all those cats, but I would have never ever heard of Mises.
Nonsense. It's Then Rob Samuelson tried to mathematize it, and it leads to nowhere. It's basically a whole bunch of astrologers, staring at charts and numbers, which give you terrible conclusions. So it has nothing to do with the real world.
Yeah, and it's like, but what fascinates me about you guys is that you've got a lot of theoreticians in this world that they can sit in the ivory tower and analyze, and you have a lot of them like armchair theoreticians that can do that on the timeline and like talk a lot of stuff, talk a lot of hot air. Like you guys came together, you building. We'll get into it soon because I got super excited. I took one pass at you guys. Like I'm familiar with the project from a couple months ago, and then just like 2 months ago, I went deep and understood what the real ramifications are of having a cross-chain BTC ETH Solana swap, having the fact that you guys are completely turning the AMM model on its head is pretty incredible. But where did it all start? Like, what was that genesis point, right? The genesis block of Portal to Bitcoin.
Well, the idea was to create something useful, right? So to create something useful, you have to have a customer need. And so we spent about a year, thinking through all of the different problems in this space. And, at that time, we could have done what everybody was doing, right? Like we could have said, oh, we're putting your medical records on the blockchain or, some nonsense. We're putting intellectual property on the blockchain or some other nonsense. That no, that has no market or TAM. Instead,
we did try that.
Huh?
We did try that, the intellectual property on the blockchain, but that's why
we didn't try it. We actually did diligence on it, and we said, it's not worth our time because there is no market here, there's no need here, and it's the problem doesn't fit the solution, and so on and so forth. But this cross-chain operations, basically increasing the perceived utility of Bitcoin blockchain as not just settlement layer for BTC, but for all sorts of other assets. Because the thesis was there's going to be new chains coming up. Some of them will actually find purpose for a specialized use case. And so eventually they will all need to have seamless convertibility into Bitcoin because it's the most secure, most decentralized, for all those good reasons. It continues to use proof of work. So again, coming back to like why, and then we also thought about like why is this important for Bitcoin itself? Why can't you leave it alone, right? And so the answer is Bitcoin has limited block space, as all you know, and the security of the network actually comes from miners putting a ton of hash power to work in following this complex Nakamoto consensus, which is like who discovers the nonce first, right? And why do they do that? They do that because the Coinbase transaction will give you the block subsidy until a certain point. After that, what incentive do they have? The initial hope is the fee will rise, the fee market will rise, and it'll pay for the miners to more than secure the network. The other thing you could do, but we still continue to have like blocks that are not full, right? So what you can do is increase the economic density of that constrained block space, or by making it a settlement layer for all sorts of different transactions on other blockchains, maybe Web2 objects, digital assets, tokenized stocks, so on and so forth. That way, you have a lot more value. So the Bitcoin block space becomes increasingly scarce. So as the demand increases, the price per settling on that block, the fees per miner should go up and eventually compensate for the predictably declining block subsidy. So it's important for that. And it's a real problem that has cost people tens of billions of dollars. And so
economic density is an incredible turn of phrase. I see what you mean. You kind of like, Bitcoin kind of handles a certain on-chain volume right now. Like we need to squeeze in more activity into those few bytes that you have on the block.
Correct. Exactly.
But I think I want to get into a little bit about how this works because there's a lot to dive into, from the swaps themselves to the AMMs, the liquidity providers. You obviously have a TGE coming up, so we have to talk about that. But first, we welcome Mat Greenspan back from the lair, right? We have him in the lair, ladies and gentlemen. Some of the best content and some of the most on-point predictions have been made in the layer, and now we return to it. So, welcome back, Mati.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Now I'm just looking at the charts for the first time. Also, since I got on my flight, it looks like it's been a pretty brutal weekend, to be honest.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a wreck for alts. Hey, the
Yeah.
Bitcoin's kind of still, but Bitcoin every time it has a certain like a $2,000 wick, it sends the rest of the market either to euphoria or to the psychologist's couch.
So I have a new theory that alt season, this cycle, no matter how long the cycle lasts, things are going to be different than they were before. Before we had like this kind of 4-year cycle, and then every time Bitcoin hits, an all-time high and keeps running for a bit, and then after that it plateaus, and then we see an alt season as people take their Bitcoin profits and reinvest them. And I have this feeling that this time around, alt season is going to come in waves. Rather than, are you able to see my screen here?
We're not seeing it.
Let me
Not
put it
seeing
on.
it.
Hold on. Let me chuck it on. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's the Bitcoin dominance graph.
Yeah, absolutely. This is, exactly, North Star at the moment, and that's what I was telling Cointelegraph last week as well. I mean, this is what you want to be watching, is this Bitcoin dominance chart, because that's going to tell you whether you should be allocating right now to altcoins or to Bitcoins. And I feel like what we've seen so far is, here, take a look at this. This was the Trump pump when Donald Trump was elected. We saw this massive slide in Bitcoin dominance. But overall, it's been rising, steadily, since beginning of 2023. Yeah. And I have this funny feeling that it's going to continue to rise, and every once in a while we'll just see these sharp declines as we've been seeing, where we get not altcoin season, but maybe like altcoin weekend or whatever. And that's how I feel this is very likely to play out going forward. But, obviously anything that has to do with charts, we need to give the disclaimer that past performance does not indicate future results.
Well, Mati, your analysis is spot on with at least what I fundamentally believe. There are so many of these blockchain projects that have no use except for speculation, right? I'll make a claim about what their token does. It's 10 times faster than Solana, and it has block space that out the wazoo. But there's really no utility other than speculation, and most of those will go to zero. Maybe there will be one winner, right? The power law occurs. So when we take a look at that, there will be a few winners of each alt season, and then those coins can get carried forward. But because many of those are being built on different types of layer ones, there needs to be some tradability between them across dexes. That's kind of where we come into play, and as you see, the Bitcoin dominance continues to grow. Well, because of what Portal has built, Portal to Bitcoin has built, right? A cross-chain DEX that actually includes native tokens across chains and Bitcoin. That now I think we may see a lot of projects begin to have liquidity drained from those altcoins back into the safety of BTC. And now they can do it. Now they can do it without custodians, without having to wrap their Bitcoin, without having to sell it on Ethereum and buy WBTC or CBBTC. So that's kind of I'm glad that your chart really fits our understanding of where this is going, and Portal's there to support the growth of BTC.
So I'll push back on you. I'll push back a little bit. It's not that these other blockchains have no utility. and particularly the infrastructure
Many do
ones.
have no utility, my friend.
Many. Oh, yes. Because, well, that's the nature of it, right? Because anybody can now produce a token for relatively little cost and put it on the market. I mean, even actually for free these days with Pump Fund, put it on the market, and that just enables everybody to start some sort of capital formation, which is a tool that previously only insiders and people who really knew what they were doing were able to actually start putting together a company and raising money and selling equity and things like that. I mean, it was a very difficult process previously, and now it's just anybody can do it. So the nature of that is, you have a lot of people, like 99% of the people who have no business actually raising money are now able to go out and do so. And obviously that means that as investors and consumers, we need to be a lot more aware. But that doesn't mean that, there aren't others out there. There aren't coins out there like Ethereum and Solana. And I'm not going to name too many names because, for fear of massive pushback from some people. But I would say at least those two, if not many more, are required as basic infrastructure. Bitcoin in and of itself does have its limits, right? And we're quite familiar with the blockchain trilemma, where you cannot do scalability, security, and decentralization. You have to have two of the three, right? You're going to always be giving up on one.
That's right. At least not at the same layer.
Yeah, and exactly. And well, layer 2s on Bitcoin are all shit. Let's call a spade a spade.
Well, you don't call them layer 2s. There are real layer 2s. I mean, Lightning, Mercury.
Sure. So Ethereum is a layer 2 of Bitcoin, right? And I think that,
yes,
especially with what you guys are doing, you should probably be agreeing with me. If not, that's fine too. But
no, I agree with that actually.
Yeah, and that's my point, is that those other chains are required for infrastructure purposes, because we can't not all NFTs can be minted on Bitcoin, right? If you try to mint a 10 megabyte image on the Bitcoin, and you're going to have a problem because it's going to cost you like $5 million worth of gas, and that's just not worthwhile. So you're going to have to mint that on a different chain, right? And then maybe port it back to Bitcoin, or have the final settlement in Bitcoin. But you're going to, especially when we're talking about tokenization of all assets, it can't all be done on Bitcoin. I mean, maybe if Bitcoin would have been more versatile in its development, maybe if the original, developers would have listened to Vitalik all those years ago and made Bitcoin more versatile, maybe we could have been in a world where that could happen. But in today's world, Bitcoin is not scalable. It's not looking to be scalable. And therefore, many other blockchains will be required in order to get that scalability without compromising on the security and the decentralization of Bitcoin.
You cannot, I think, look, thank God that the developers didn't listen to Vitalik, because Bitcoin cannot, like the big blockers try to change it, Bitcoin cannot veer away from the consensus rule, right? If you want to innovate at the edges, that's why, things like the whole spam debate, the Bitcoin not versus Bitcoin core, that's not a debate about the consensus rules, about the heart of Bitcoin, right? It's a debate of how we utilize the Bitcoin and how we scale and grow Bitcoin. But I think, thank God we didn't make any consensus changes, and that's not what the gentlemen here want to do. But I am curious as to what and how you are going to do it. So I want to give you guys a scenario, and you can run me through how Portal is going to accomplish that. Don't feel free to get technical. We're not afraid of some big words. But let's say I have now, I'm on Solana, and I have Solana, or I have USDT even, and I want to swap my USDT on Solana for BTC, right? Or I want to maybe can I bridge that USDT or Solana to BTC? Like, is there going to be some wrapped tokens, versions of Solana, Ethereum on BTC, or is it just Solana BTC swaps? Right?
It's so native Solana. That's the thing about the architecture that we use. It's called Bitscaler. So you don't need to wrap anything. There is no bridge, because bridge implies a multi-party custody of one native token and then facilitating transactions on the other chain. There is absolutely no custody here. The validators here do not custody funds of either the LPs in the AMM or the traders who are doing the trades, right? Like the party counterparty. What happens is there is an modified channel factory, which is kind of a concept that came from Christian Decker and Roger Waterhofer. Blockstream, Christian Decker is now at Blockstream, who collaborated with us in developing this, is to improve the scalability limitations of Lightning. Because any two people who need to transact on the Lightning Network actually have to have an on-chain transaction for a channel formation, and then one or two, depending on the cooperative or uncooperative use case. That doesn't scale for the volume and the number of connections you need to have to run either an order book-based decentralized exchange or an AMM-based exchange. So what we have is like you get an AMM on Bitcoin, which is built using this channel factory, using multi-party channels. An equivalent smart contract on Ethereum and similar one on Solana. And all of the trades are essentially payment channel based between the AMMs on these native chains themselves. And they're essentially layer 2 atomic swaps, exactly like Lightning uses for payment forwarding, except that we've solved the cross-chain problem. And so now you get no need for wrapping, no need for validator custody, no need for bridges. There's no bridging. And because these are L2 transactions, real L2 transactions, not sidechain slarping as L2s, like Lightning. These are off-chain state transitions that are only limited by network bandwidth and throughput, right? Speed and throughput. They're inexpensive because they don't all settle on chain except at a particular duration, exactly like you move money in a Lightning channel. Only when you settle on chain do you actually end up paying the on-chain fees. So you get the speed, you get the native asset exchange, so you can do your USDT on Solana or Ethereum to Bitcoin swap natively. You have to have, and it's fast, it's cheap, and the user experience comes to par with any centralized exchange out there. And there's risk of loss or anything like that. The worst case that can happen in any other model, whether you're talking third chain model or the bridges or wrap derivatives or sets, it's either on-chain custody or off-chain custody. In our case, it's completely custodyless. That's the big transition. And so the user experience is on par with any SEX that you have. And then you can also do more complex contracts. Like
when you say the user experience is on par with any SEX, like if I'm trading BTC for Sol on a SEX, I get confirmation within a minute, right? Within a second.
Yeah, usually it's 20 seconds or something.
If I'm trading here on chain, I have to wait for Bitcoin block time, right?
No. That's only if you actually need to settle on chain. Typically, if you want to see, not everybody closes their Lightning channels after every transaction, right?
Yeah.
In this case, the channel close happens every epoch, which is 30 days. So then the on-chain fees are spread across all of the participants in that multi-party channel. So that's why you don't have to settle. Just like you don't settle your channel balances every time on chain. It doesn't make any sense. Because the security guarantees are essentially the same. And if you want to move it to your cold storage wallet, then you can anytime. And then you would end up paying the on-chain fees. Very similar to a non-cooperative use close.
So let's say Mati and I, like Mati's in California, I'm here in the Middle East, and I want to send him Bitcoin, and he's got USDT for me, right? Where in that 30 days before the channel closed, before the settlement, where does, let's say we're trading $10,000, where's my BTC? Where's this coin?
Your BTC is locked in an on-chain contract. Just like think about how the structure Lightning works, right? You have an on-chain contract, right? Your Bitcoin is sitting in that on-chain contract in what we call an HTLC. In this case, we use a multi-party channel HTLC. That's kind of like a technical difference, but
So there
essentially,
is some sort of contract, like there is some
yeah,
sort of.
yeah. It's sitting on the Bitcoin blockchain. His USDT is sitting in a smart contract on whatever chain it's issued on.
Okay.
And then who owns what is determined by who has the keys to actually be able to spend it. That's all there is to it. And so if you want to spend it to your cold storage wallet address, you can. And nobody else
can. I send it to my? If I want to send it to cold storage before the 30 days, I pay the on-chain fees.
You pay
and
the
then
on-chain
it
fees.
settles
With
it.
the 30
Can we
days,
get like a technical demonstration? Because all of this is going like way.
the technical demonstration is just a simple video of you doing swap, and then you get to Sol, and your wallet shows BTC balance. That's all. I mean, there's if you're interested in reading
How do
more,
I use it? Like, how do I do it? Like, let's say I wanted to send due to $5 right now of Solana. How do I?
$5 worth of Solana. I mean, that's send and receive is in there.
Yeah.
You know, of USDT.
He wants to send me 10,000. I get it, but I only want to send him $5. So how do I send him 5 and he receive that in Bitcoin, or what was the? How does it work?
The use case is swapping.
Swapping.
Okay. Yeah, you can think of it like Uniswap that actually is cross-chain.
Yeah, so you don't necessarily, in the AMM model, you don't necessarily identify the counterparty, right?
Right. It's
you want to trade. You want
and you guys have a front end. I mean, how do I use? Where do I go?
Actually, I can post the link in this. You can go download the app.
So, it's an app.
Yeah. I mean, it's a Chrome extension. You can go download the Chrome extension. It'll be also on iOS and Android. So,
okay.
The web store.
Eventually, you'll be able to use it with your own wallets too.
And yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, what if I want to use it on like MetaMask or on Phantom or something like that? Is that not possible?
It is compatible with MetaMask. Phantom, I'm gonna have to check if it still does, but MetaMask, yes.
Yeah, but I think Phantom has surpassed MetaMask quite significantly over the last 2 years.
Yeah. It's widely used, yes.
So I want to show you guys something, because this is it's going to be a mirror screen, so just bear with me, but you can see at the end over there, right, that you can see what it says here. Thank you for downloading PTB. Right, our testnet is being upgraded. Please stay tuned for the mainnet. When can we see the mainnet? Because I've come in every day,
August.
I look today, like maybe when can we see this mainnet?
In August. I mean, right now, it's the contract audits are done. They just need to be deployed on the mainnet. Yeah.
Nice. And you guys have a token of some kind?
Yeah, that's the PTB, which is used as a gas token in the validator network, which is actually recording all these swaps, making sure that all of these messages, these off-chain messages, people don't have to.
And which blockchain is PTB going to be launched on?
It's an EVM OS derivation. And
so you guys are going to put out another useless token for us to speculate on?
No, it's useful. I was about to tell you the uses, so you interrupted me.
But, I'm sorry. You got to get used to me. I have tough questions sometimes, and your colleague.
Okay. It's not tough. It's a fair question. So because there's so many useless.
George mentioned that there's a lot of useless tokens out there that are good for only speculations.
I think you and I would have a lot of fun hanging out. That's that.
I think so too, man. Come on over. We got some good alcohol behind me.
I can see that.
So it's used as, so what is the purpose of this, right? Why do you need a token? So who is going to run, if you as a user want all of these utility that I just described, you have to run the entire portal OS yourself, which is full nodes of all of the supported blockchains. You have to keep it online at all times. You need to run the portal coordinator, which is the cross-chain message passing thing that is built into every portal OS. And you have to be online, redundant ISP, redundant, data backup power, database administrator, all that stuff. You don't do that. So what Lightning does is it has this functionality called a network. the validators act as a distributed network of watchtowers. And so why would they do that? They will get compensated for it. They have to actually earn their place. They have to stake the PTB token, become a validator, and then they get emissions that are distributed according to the number of validators that participate. More importantly, the amount of volume that actually is being used in the network, in the DEX, like the number of transactions, there's a fee. All of those fees are captured in the PTB token, right? So it basically compensates the people providing this service, keeping it live, not trust minimized, because trust minimization is at the level of the protocol. But they keep it live, they provide the service, they need to get compensated. And the fees are used to go buy and burn the PTB token every epoch. So they get compensated. The liquidity providers who provide liquidity for these AMMs to actually deliver the value that you expect from them seamlessly, they need to get compensated. So it keeps the network running. Without it, you'd have to go back to an order book based thing, which we tried. Without a token, order book based cross-chain DEX, and last year we tried that didn't work very well because it has all of these different problems about counterparty discovery, who keeps these order books in sync, who guarantees first in first out, etc. So it's designed to actually capture the value of the network and distribute it to the people who actually provide the functions that are necessary, liquidity, keeping it live, all of that stuff. So it continues to run and propagate, exactly like Bitcoin. It's what do the miners do? They secure the network and they validate transactions and they actually write the blocks. So
this is a utility token through and through, a utility token to pay for validation of what? Now this is my question. Is there some sort of portal chain, a portal explorer that we can go to?
Yeah, it's called aurelia.bitcoin.com. Yeah. What does this? We call this the notary chain. What does it record? It records all of the swaps that are happening, right? And why is that important? It's important because you need to have a record of which liquidity provider provided how much, because the emissions are pro rata distributed. How many validators are in each epoch? Which user state has to be broadcast to which blockchain at what time, because atomic swaps require those. It's time lock dependent, and all of that archival history is actually needed to be maintained by these validators.
That's right.
If you assume that the users would do all of this, it'll never get off the.
Answer me this. So, when is the token going to be launched?
We don't know yet. In August, sometime in August.
Okay, August. So that's very close. I think August is another
TGE
2-3 days away.
Listening to this, mark the whole of August. Tell your wife she has to do laundry.
For the whole month, yeah.
There's an important component to this because I've been ragging on other useless tokens. There's an argument to be made. Can a single chain DEX operate without the need for a token? And sure, that's actually a possibility. But this is not a single chain DEX. This requires the coordination of the validators that are on the chain, or that the validators that will be able to act as watchtowers. And so there's a payment component to that, but it's not just that. You can take a look at the concept of impermanent loss, which is something that is relegated usually to DEXs, because liquidity pools where a trader has to trade his Ethereum for Bitcoin. These pools are typically made up of these two assets that you want to trade for, Ethereum and BTC. And so they're not going to always trade in parity. Ethereum might go down and Bitcoin might go up, or vice versa. And when that occurs, you then have a heavier allocation for what your liquidity provisioned funds end up being. If you're a liquidity provider, you may see that there is a run on the market that results in more tokens on one side than you originally had. It's no longer a 50-50 split. And so you have a token that ends up acting as a reward mechanism in order to mitigate the impermanent loss that's experienced.
Okay,
right?
so
Yeah,
excellent.
sorry,
I appreciate that. So you have the watchtowers and you have the protection from impermanent loss. So why would the token value go up? Where does the demand come from?
If the demand for cross-chain exchange and swaps, options, perps, and there's a suite of financial products that we plan to build on Bitscaler. Bitscaler is the architecture it uses a channel factory that I just described. You can read the Bitscaler white paper. I can paste it in the chat if you're interested. Or you can go to portal2bitcoin.com/publications and you can read them.
I'll be happy to get the cliff notes.
It's hard to compress it.
I'll just feed it into ChatGPT and tell it to summarize.
Yeah. Upload it to
generally
ChatGPT and ask it to give you a very short summary, right? It'll probably hallucinate on some things, but you'll probably get the gist. So,
but where does the
demand for all of these products, right?
Yeah. Why would I, as an investor, go out and buy the PTB token? And why would I think that it's going to go up? Because I have sell pressure from the watchtowers, and I have sell pressure from the impermanent loss protection. But where other than speculation and hype,
the protocol can be designed very specific.
Buy demand comes. Okay, first of all, before I get into the tokenomics, I got to give this disclaimer. None of what I say is investment advice or financial advice. So don't buy or sell anything based on what I'm telling you. Okay, I'm not qualified to give that, and neither is anybody else on this.
Appreciate it.
Podcast.
Yeah, you see, dude, I told you eventually the guests will give their own disclaimers. You see,
that's qualified to show your token is a licensed financial advisor. So if you wanna use more pump style language, then Matty's your man. He's got the certificate.
Yeah, well, if there is a demand for cross-chain swaps, cross-chain options, cross-chain perps, Bitcoin-backed loans, et cetera, those are all like small derivations of the same contracts on the Bitscaler primitive. So the fees that you pay are the ones that are actually distributed to the people who provide liquidity, and half of the fees are actually going to go and buy and burn the fixed supply PTB on the open market. So it's a 8.4 billion fixed theoretical maximum supply over the lifetime, and then half of the fees.
Okay, so there's a buyback and burn mechanism. Got it. I've seen that before, but again, that doesn't necessarily translate into demand. That translates
if you have demand for swaps, if you have demand for if you have demand for swaps, and if you have demand for all of these functions that are described, the fees are a direct result of the demand for that, right? And they go and create the demand for the fixed supply PTB token. So it captures the value of the network.
Mikey, it's the same as any like every utility token has a similar sort of conundrum that it's like the goal of the chain is always to make it fees cheaper, so like where does the demand, why does Solana Ethereum worth billions? Gas is a function, but
the assumption is that there is a demand for these operations. So you look at all of these use cases. Is there demand for intellectual property on the blockchain? Is there demand for another Turing complete blockchain, etc.? If you look at DEX volumes and if you look at SEX volumes, there's clear demand for that. Those are the only big money-making businesses in the entire industry.
Absolutely.
So the assumption here is that because you provide a superior product, you capture some of that demand, and that directly translates into the demand for the token. So it's that simple. It's nothing more complicated than that. Actually, there's no bigger business, including mining, than the exchanges. I mean, you can see these numbers for yourself on Dune and whatever. So
I want to ask a question because we're running out of time. I've had an incredible time. I know you guys have as well, especially lots of guys in the comment portals on me show up. As I said, Matty called them bots, but these guys are some of the most disciplined yappers in the Twitter sphere. So show them some love. But I do want to ask you about the other third three-letter phrase, because we said TGE, we spoke about that three-letter phrase. The other three-letter phrase is APY. right? I'm a savvy investor. I like to look out for the. I'm not, but I want to be. But like I like to look out for the yields that I can. I don't want to give up I don't want to give up Bitcoin exposure. I'm thinking about this in the car on the way from Germany. Like a bunch of my TradFi buddies convinced me to start some sort of a income fund with all these like dividend yielding stocks and ETF. And eventually I thought to myself, like, the underlying asset is priced in USD. That's just going to erode in value. Like, I don't want to earn yield on something that is worth, 50% less in purchasing power in 10 years' time. I want to keep my Bitcoin, but I also want to earn yield on that Bitcoin. Will that be possible, important to Bitcoin? And if so,
Yeah,
how? And if so, like, how much? That's the question.
Yeah, I'll explain that. So the tokenomics have been very thoughtfully designed to mitigate the problems that we've seen with DEXs over the years. The reward mechanism is an extremely attractive one. So the emissions of the protocol, every epoch, there are PTB that are being released to be paid for the functions on the DEX. And so the biggest job that we believe will bring in the most number of users is liquidity. So it's designed to attract liquidity providers to leave wherever it is that they're holding their assets and bring it into Portal to Bitcoin. The reason is because it's actually 65% of all of the emissions are going to be paid to the liquidity providers every epoch. What does that account for over the lifetime of the network? That's almost a quarter of the entire tokens that are ever to be minted will be in the hands of liquidity providers. So what does that do? That, I believe, at scale creates a vacuum suck from other places where you think that you can earn your yield in cross-chain and bring it into Portal. As Portal begins to bring in more asset pairs for trading, more chains that we're compatible with for trading, you'll then find that yield is so significantly high, it will pull you away from the others. But it's not just being pulled away, it's also being pushed away from the others. What do I mean by that? As far as we're aware, there is no other cross-chain protocol that uses atomic swaps for on-chain transactions, or sorry, cross-chain transactions. The liquidity providers that are in DEXs like Thorchain, right? They're using multi-sig vaults. That is technically a form of custodial holding. There is risk with that. So if you want to prevent rugging, you would take your assets and you would bring them over to Portal to Bitcoin. As an LP, it is the only place where there is no risk of your funds being stolen, because as an LP, you simply want to place it there and forget about it, right? You just want to know that it's safe. The only thing that can happen in the event of a failure is that the tokens remain in your self-custodial wallet as an LP. So that's why I think that these two things are what's going to attract others from the crypto ecosphere into not just trading with us, but wanting to hold their crypto with us. When that happens, you go to the place that has the biggest liquidity, because you want a market order depth that is not going to result in too much slippage for you. That only can occur when you have massive amounts of liquidity. Why? Because it's been programmed into the reward mechanism.
I want to ask one more question. I think it's Mat, do you have anything else to ask? I'm very curious.
No, I want to say before we wrap up, first of all, thank you guys so much for being troopers and coming on the show. I apologize. Sometimes I do ask the hard questions, but I think that I want to just wish you a lot of success with your program. I think you guys are the good guys in this case and building something that's absolutely needed. So I want to say thank you for that. As we move
we're the bad guys to everyone else who's custodial.
Good. For fuck's sake, good. Yeah, no, that's what blockchain is about, and you guys are doing something that's extremely important. And we want to see you guys succeed. So best of luck to you, and hope to have you on soon.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the time. And yeah, I mean, I
have
don't
one
say
final
those
question.
are unfair questions. Those are right questions to ask. So
Yeah, first of all, Chandra, you got a lot of love from the crowd for stepping into the piranha's den and going out without a scratch, and not only that, but cooking the piranha or a meal. I don't think you cooked. I think that was like a last event, but it's a great meeting of the minds. And I'm very fascinated about the last thing that you mentioned, the liquidity. And like George was speaking about, like the network effects where people gravitate to what's called the Schelling point, where everyone's meeting there, so everyone else is meeting there because everyone meeting there becomes a self-reinforcing property. So how do you guys, get from zero to that? Because that's obviously your
that's a
goal.
great question.
The
So
Schelling point for cross-chain liquidity.
right. So obviously, bootstrapping liquidity is no mean feat, and George and the BizDev team are working with lots of whales, miners, institutions that are interested in providing liquidity, because there are three things that you look for when you're seeking yield, right? Like, one is my principal safe, which is there a custodial risk? Is there smart contract risk? And two and three, which is, you know, is the yield actually coming from a consumer surplus, like an actual product that is being used and being paid for by people, that is sustainable? If you check all three boxes, you initially have to spend a bunch of time bootstrapping liquidity onto the system, but then it self-perpetuates, like you said. Better liquidity attracts more traders. More traders means more fees, which attracts more LPs, and that nice little two-sided marketplace network effect, the feed forward cycle, or you want to call it demand side economy of scale, right? So that starts to spin itself.
Thank you for that. I think it's obviously a self-reinforcing kind of game that you play, but as you said, I think it starts with product. I think if you have something that gives people, like, it becomes very obvious, like that's the obvious need to keep custody of your coin, and people are looking for ways to earn yield on their Bitcoin, and like, I think as more right now, I don't see it being part of the conversation, but eventually, like, with the way Wall Street has gotten infected by the degeneracy bug, like, I can see all the treasury companies starting to, I don't know if you call it rehypothecating or you want to use a gentler word, but I can see them starting to try and earn a couple APY percentage points on, say, has 600k plus BTC locked up. For him, 6%, yield, 5% yield, you're talking about, millions of dollars worth of coin.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know specifically about the treasury companies and what their constraints are, but there are lots of whales and miners that are attracted to this lack of these risks and a sustainable yield equation. Treasury companies, each one is different. What their constraints are and what they promise to their investors, what their charters say. I'm not an expert, but at least some of them, I would assume, would be interested in earning yield without taking the custodial risk.
Yeah, epic. I can't wait to see that. I can't wait for the little pop-up on the side of my screen to let me do things already and not just tell me it's coming soon. But I guess I'll have to be a little bit more patient. Thank you, Chandra. Thank you, George.
Share it,
I've had
Maddie,
an
and
enlightening time.
both of you.
Thank you, Mate, as well. And hit us up. Let's stay in touch. Marty's doing daily Twitter Spaces. I'm doing Twitter Spaces.
You guys are welcome on the Quantum Spaces any day of the week. We're on every day, Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. EST.
Incredible.
Great. Thanks. Happy to do it.
Look forward to
We'll see you soon.
August.
You guys.
August for you guys. So good luck.
Thank you.
Best of luck, guys.